you going to introduce
Good
us?
evening. Good evening. Welcome to Vols Checkerboard Country. This is Ray, and this ain't about me. This is about BVD and ACP Carter. Why don't you all talk, guys?
What's going on, Ray? What's going on, Carter?
What's up, Keith?
Well, folks, it is Monday afternoon, the Monday after the Volunteers' first scrimmage. We'll get to that here in just a few moments. Got a few other things to talk about first. Welcome back to Vols Checkerboard Country with myself and ACC Carter. This is your home for Vols, football, and pretty much anything else you want to talk about. But primarily we're a Vols football show, so we welcome anybody to call us and talk smack or talk fact. That's up to you. The number is 1-855-403-9071. Don't be shy. Give us a try. Carter, what's going on in your neck of the woods today?
Hot as hell. Ready for this fall weather to come in and play some football, man.
Well, it certainly won't be long now. What are we looking at? Well, we're under 3 weeks now, so it'll be here, and shit, it'll be over before we know it.
Yep.
As we always do here on the Vols Checkerboard Country, the first thing we talk about is things that have made national news since we last joined you. And unfortunately, this week it has nothing to do with football. And, of course, I'm sure everybody knows what I'm going to talk about. It's the whole Tony Stewart ordeal. Out on a dirt track this weekend in the sprint cars, he gets in a little... mixes it up a little bit with Kevin Ward Jr., spinning Kevin Ward out, although myself, after looking at the videos, it didn't look to me like Tony Stewart spun him out. It looked like he ran down into Tony, but that really doesn't matter at this point. As everyone has seen, in his fit of rage, Ward gets out of his car, comes down onto the track, points out Tony Stewart, and in what I can only call a horrific accident, Tony Stewart accidentally runs over Kevin Ward Jr., ultimately killing him. Carter, have you seen the video?
Yeah, I have seen the video. It's pretty bad. Hard to tell. I think I lost you, Keith. I can't hear you.
I'm here. I'm just listening to you.
Okay. Yeah, I think most of us seen the video. It's hard to tell who's at fault, but I tell you this, I don't think Tony Stewart would intentionally try to hit that person. I know Tony Stewart's caught a lot of flack for kind of being a jerk in NASCAR, but I don't think he would try to intentionally hit the guy. But it's hard to tell, if he tried to swerve out of the way or not. And it's that nice on a dirt track. I mean, there's no telling. It's just horrible, and it's bad for the sport, and it's really it's going to be tough. The one thing, though, I kind of didn't really like was that Tony Stewart decided to race the next day. I mean, I think he should have probably taken the day off or the week off and try to clear his head. And
actually, he did take the next day off.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, so we were talking about it Friday, or whatever night, Saturday night, as we were all talking about it on Uvu. Someone had mentioned that he was going to race the next day, and I tuned in. I'm not a big NASCAR fan anymore. I used to be, but I tuned in to the race, and they were talking. They were saying that he was not going to race, and they actually even mentioned who was going to fill in for him that day, and his name escapes me right now, but he did not race yesterday. And I think that would have been to say that would have been a bad decision doesn't even give it the credit that it deserves. I've listened to quite a few different radio shows earlier today looking for information on this. And to a man, everyone that's talked about Tony Stewart that knows him personally, which none of us fans know Tony Stewart. And Dr. Jerry Punch, which of course is a big figure on ESPN. He lives in Knoxville. He's on a Knoxville radio show every Monday. He was talking about Tony Stewart today, and Tony Stewart is probably one of the most charitable drivers out there. I did not know that. You know, I know that these guys always have a lot of charities that they donate to. They have their own foundations that they have started and contribute to. But we're talking about a lot of little things like Tony Stewart giving. One thing I heard today was he paid for a flagman's funeral who had passed away, and the family didn't have enough money to pay for it, so he paid for it. Little things like that. So I'm not going to sit here by any means and say that I think Tony Stewart ran over Ward intentionally, although as you look at it and watch the video and listen to the sound from it, it actually sounds like he revs his engine as he runs over Ward. But that's, who knows, Carter? It's just one of those awful things that is bound to happen in that sport when you get out of your car. That, for me, that's the worst thing you can do. Like you said, on a dirt track at night, the ends are wet. I mean, the vision's got to be limited, at best. So, plus he's trying to concentrate on not hitting any other cars or getting ran into. So, I'm not going to say Tony Stewart did it on purpose. I just don't. I'm not buying that for a minute. Anything else you'd like to add?
Well, just other than the fact that I'm like you said, I'm not a big NASCAR fan, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But I'm sorry I didn't know that he didn't race. I thought he did for some reason.
Oh, that's okay. Lord knows we're not perfect around here like them Georgia Bulldog fans. We'll get to that later. We'll get to their perfection later on in the show. I mentioned earlier, don't have control of the knob, so I can't turn myself down when I have to cough there. I mentioned earlier about the first scrimmage this weekend. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Also, the NFL preseason has started since Carter and I were last on here, and we've decided that we're going to do our high school football stuff at the top of the show with the national news. That way, for the folks that could care less about high school football, we'll get it out of the way and at the same time force them to listen to it. Not much going on right now in high school football. Of course, that's a lie. Everything is going on. The jamborees will be starting this Friday. The Brack Jamboree up here in Northeast Tennessee is Friday. Greenville, my team had a big scrimmage last week against Tennessee High and pretty much had their way with the Vikings. The Tennessee High looked terrible in that game, or in that scrimmage, But we won't spend a lot of time on high school football until they actually get into the season and start playing games. Have you heard anything about your Milan Bulldogs? Anything going up there? How are they looking? Are they going to be good again this year? Or are they going to be like last year and struggle?
As far as I know, every year they play Mayfield, Kentucky in a scrimmage, which is Coach Jeff Morse, his cousin is the coach up there, and they always come down, or Milan will go up there depending on the year. And then Mayfield's a huge 5A school, and usually they just get pounded. But that's something that Coach Morse likes to do, is let them get beat up by a bigger school, and then hopefully they'll get better and improve. But that's Milan's going to be better this year. They got a quarterback who's doing really well, and the competition is going to be pretty fierce for Milan this year, with Crockett County being a good team. But they should do okay.
We were hoping to have Jeremiah, our third partner in crime, on here, joining us with some Middle Tennessee news, but we're really not sure at this point whether he's going to be able to do the show on a consistent basis or not. So right now we'll kind of put Jeremiah on the back burner. We hope he can join us. He offers quite a bit to the show, in my opinion, and he offers a lot of knowledge that Carter and I may not necessarily have on Middle Tennessee football. That's going to wrap it up for this week's high school football report, brought to you by, well, no one. We don't have commercials on here. That's the beauty of this thing. We are hoping to add some sound bites as we progress in this show. Hope to bring you some Butch Jones comments as the season progresses and kind of advance this thing as best we can and as much as we can. It's kind of hard for me and Carter sitting at our homes talking on the phone to do anything like that, but maybe we can get together with Ray and figure out a way to add sound bites and stuff later on. Now, Carter, we're gonna turn to, I don't know what that was. We're gonna turn to fall camp, which has fired up in earnest for the Big Orange. And Tennessee had their first scrimmage this weekend. Before we talk about the scrimmage, just your initial thoughts on the first 7 or 8 days of practice, Carter. We obviously don't get to see them practice, but just what you've heard from the media people that do get to see what they get to see.
Well, the quarterbacks need to improve. Butch even got on in his media session and said the first couple of days he was really disappointed. Was not pleased with the way the quarterbacks were slinging the ball. A lot of the young guys really need to step up, but then when after the scrimmage, he seemed to be a little more happier than he was at the first of camp. But I think there's still a lot of improvement. A lot of media guys have, been saying this is a young football team. A lot of mistakes, a lot of flags, a lot of just simple mistakes that young guys will make. But we're not where we need to be yet. But we're hoping that we can get there before the season starts against Utah State.
Yeah, it's not only is it a struggle for this team in its infancy to get to where the coaches think they want to be. It's really been a struggle for me lately to kind of come to grips with reality on Tennessee football. I've been a Tennessee fan for over 30 years, and I've seen some bad times back in the Johnny Majors early days, the end of the Bill Battle era. I've seen some rough stuff. And this particular era that we're in right now has been, without a doubt, the hardest thing for any Tennessee fan to go through. And like I said, we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the opinions of outsiders, what they think about Tennessee football right now. And some of their opinions are merited and warranted, and some of their opinions are not. But for me personally, this being such a downturn in Tennessee. What in the world is that noise? I'm sorry, but that's got to stop. Carter, take over for a second while I go beat my brains in.
All right. Well,
I know that noise is not on my end.
Okay. I don't hear it, so it must be coming from me, I'm guessing.
I don't know. We're good.
Okay, we're good.
It's just internet radio anyway, right? Weird things are going to happen. And you know me, man, I'm going to have my spaz out moments, especially when football season gets here, so might as well have a precursor to those. We're talking about Tennessee football and how terrible things have gotten for us. And as football fans, especially of a powerhouse or what used to be a powerhouse in Tennessee football, this is hard to handle, man. And hopefully Butch Jones is the right guy. Hopefully Butch Jones is going to be the guy to get it turned around. And so far you haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise. But I know there are a lot of Tennessee fans, sometimes myself included, that kind of think this should happen now. It should happen overnight like it did with Auburn, although I don't think Auburn was in nearly as bad a shape, when Malzahn took over as Butch Jones was when he took over. And that's something that I had a hard time coming to grips with, was just actually how bad we really were coming from where we came from. And that kind of all ties into the first scrimmage this weekend. You heard Carter talk earlier about how Butch Jones was unhappy with a lot of things that he was seeing, especially with the quarterbacks, a lot of struggling going on with some of the new guys, getting used to the routine. But the first scrimmage, they come out, and the quarterbacks evidently looked halfway decent. Our boy Nathan Peterman has a 13-play, basically 97-yard drive where he takes the team from his own 1-yard line all the way down to the other end of the field, and then they fumble the ball and turn it over. And like Butch Jones said,